Thank you, Ajahn, for all the teaching all this time. Ajahn probably has answered this question during the period of time, but the same question comes to my mind all the time. It is about the habit of thinking about past hurtful experiences, like on a daily basis. Almost every day I keep thinking about those things. And finally, when I realize that I am in the past and just creating new suffering at the present moment, how should I then practice at that time? What should I think to stop that habit happening? How should I practice at that moment? Yeah. Thank you, Ajahn.
Well, you're right. It's a very common question because human beings just do this all the time. We carry our past around with us. It's the attachment, particularly to memories, isn't it? And if we've been through some unpleasant experiences, traumatic experiences, they leave a big impression on the mind, and they often will keep coming up over and over again. So it's about practicing the mindfulness again, to be aware, to be mindful when these memories are coming up, and they often bring with them strong feelings of despair, hopelessness, anguish, and then all the trains of thoughts. Is to be mindful, establish mindfulness, and know at that moment when it's re-emerging, the memory's coming back again, and you're getting caught into that same old habit of thinking. Establish enough mindfulness to just pause and say, what am I doing here? By reliving those same old experiences, thinking about them, feeling unhappy about them, being negative of myself or towards some other person, this way of thinking, this way of responding to those past experiences, does it help? Is it improving my life at this moment? Is it helping them? Is it helping me? Or making things worse? By pausing, you can see what you're doing a little more clearly, and then you start looking for the correct course of action. This is wisdom in action. And I have to say, if I just keep thinking negatively, same old, I'm not helping myself or others. I'm not getting myself out of this problem. I'm only adding to it, reinforcing it. So as you establish mindfulness, you realize what you're doing. Then the next step is, what can I do that's better? So it may be to just see the impermanence of it. Say, it's happened, it's finished, it's gone. I can't change what's happened. Now I should let it go. Just like taking the rubbish out after a dinner party. I don't have dinner parties myself, but I imagine you might. When you have a dinner party, there's all the rubbish, the leftover food and the wrappings and the this and the that. You put it in the rubbish and then you take the rubbish out, don't you? We've had our good and bad experiences in the past. We know them, but now is the time to take them out, let them go. So you acknowledge them and you let them go, just like you take out the rubbish after a meal. And then what do? Well, you set your mind on what you're going to do next, on the future, doing things. What are you going to do next that's good? So how are you going to use your life, your time, to do more good for yourself and others? And if has been some suffering from the past that you keep dwelling on, holding on to, how can you turn that into something good? It's by learning the lessons from that experience and changing. If it's mistakes you've made, then you're now saying, I'm not going to make that same mistake again. I'm not going to act in that way again, because I now see the suffering of what I did, the harm that I caused myself, others. So I'm now going to set my mind on not doing it, maybe keeping the precepts. In the last few days, I don't know why so many people have been telling me about how they've killed animals in the past and they still feel guilty about it, feel bad about it. What can they do? Well, we can, if it's a person or an animal that we've hurt in the past, we can mentally ask for forgiveness or share merits. If we killed an animal, we can share merit with them, dedicate the merits of our good actions to them, but we have to do good actions in the present so that we've got merit. That's one way. You set your mind on, now I will not kill, I'm going to keep the precepts, and then the merit of that I will dedicate to all the beings I've hurt in the past. You can do it with verbal things as well. You verbally hurt people, told lies, abused somebody, been angry with them, scolded them. You can decide from now on, I'm going to keep the precept, I won't lie, I won't use harsh speech, abusive speech. I will develop metta, goodwill in body, in speech, and I'll dedicate this merit to all those people I've harmed in the past. So you're learning your lesson and then you're setting your mind on doing good for the future. It's not denying the past, you're simply acknowledging it and then letting go and setting your mind on doing the right thing from here on because you've learned your lesson. So in that way, you turn your past actions that were harmful or not good into something good by recognizing where you went wrong and redirecting your conduct from here on, establishing virtuous conduct, good conduct. If it's unfortunate things that have happened to us, so other people have hurt us maybe in the past, what we have to say, well, that's finished. That event, that episode has finished now. And even though it was unpleasant and it, I didn't want it to happen, it was unpleasant, it was painful. Now I'm going to let it go because it's over. Even if it's something that recurred over and over again many times, still, if it's not happening in the present moment, you're just remembering it, but it's not happening anymore, the thing to do is let it go and say, this is finished. It was traumatic, it was unpleasant at the time, but it's now over. And you're putting down the burden of that memory. You don't have to carry it with you anymore. Now you can focus on doing good and letting go of the past. So, this is fundamental to the Buddha's teaching. You don't carry the past around with you. Even the good that you did in the past is not something to carry with you or dwell on. It's just something you do and it was good and right and you've learned from that and then you let it go. The bad you learn from, the good you learn from, but let it go. Otherwise, it just becomes another obstacle to freeing the mind from attachment. We have the ability to remember things, but memory is not to be clung to. When we're not mindful, we cling to memories. We identify with them as me, mine, myself. I am remembering this event that happened to me. But in the present moment, the memory is just a memory. It's no longer happening. Whatever happened is finished. So you have to have that kind of clarity and then let it go.
Thank you, Lopo. Can I now please invite Suvana? Suvana, can you please press on the unmute button? And yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Ajahn, I'd like to inquire, right, as we know that there are many positions of meditation, like standing, sitting, walking, and lying down, okay? Now, if you want to practice to attain a higher stage like a Nibbana or maybe like the stage of Sotapanna, right? Is it just one position? Like, let's say, can we just do a walking meditation alone to attain the Nibbana or Sotapanna, or must we only do sitting? Because like we have read the this Gautama, his life of Gautama, right? That he was sitting under the tree, and then he has gone through the first watch, second watch, and the third watch, when he became a Buddha. So is it necessary for us to do sitting meditation if we want to go for higher achievement? Thank you, Ajahn.
I didn't get quite all of that, but am I right in thinking or maybe you should repeat it again, just one more time. Sorry, summarize what you just said.
Okay, Ajahn, can you hear me, Ajahn? Ajahn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Okay, I'd like to
A
ask.
bit slower, a bit slower.
Okay, all right. Ajahn, I'd like to ask is like, if one were to do a walking meditation alone, can this person attain a higher, like can attain a nibbana or sotapanna by just doing walking meditation, or must one do a sitting meditation? Then it can have only achieved a higher achievement. Thank you, Ajahn.
Yeah, we can develop mindfulness and the path factors in any posture. So walking meditation, certainly one can develop sila, samadhi, panya, the factors of the path, walking meditation. Sitting meditation is, usually considered the most, it's the most common posture that people might develop: deep jhana, deep samadhi, and then deep insight. But one could develop meditation in the sitting posture and then do walking meditation. And as one is walking, one is contemplating the Dhamma, and the path factors emerge. So one could attain any of the 4 paths and fruits walking, or standing, or lying down. Of course, lying down, especially in the beginning of our practice, is probably the weakest posture, because we're most prone to sleep or be less mindful when we're lying down. But still, if you've practiced enough, when you're lying down, you can maintain mindfulness, you can develop insight into the impermanent, selfless nature of phenomena lying down as well. But sitting is the most ideal posture, backed with walking. One thing with walking meditation is, if your mind is going to enter a deep state of stillness, you would have to stop, because you can't be in a deep state of stillness when you're walking. Like jhana. So many meditators, they're walking back and forth. They can attain some samadhi as they're walking. The hindrances fade and they're contemplating impermanence, the 3 characteristics of existence, anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's fine. But if the mind is to merge into a deep state of samadhi, they stop. And that's all right. You're just walking back and forth maybe for many hours, and then when your mind gathers together in samadhi, you simply stand. And you've probably read some of the biographies of great teachers, and they've explained where sometimes they stand, having been walking meditation, their mind gathers, they stand, they close their eyes, and they go into a deep state of jhana, or contemplating some point of Dhamma, seeing a particular experience, or contemplating a particular experience. They just stand still and close their eyes. So good example of that. Luang Por Chop was the famous story. If you can read it in the teachings from Ajahn Mahabua about different teachers. He recounted some of their stories, and Luang Por Chop was walking in the forest with a candle lantern, and he came across a massive tiger coming the other way, and he wanted to abandon his fear. So he was walking, he just stopped and went into a deep state of samadhi to make sure that he wasn't giving in to his fear. And he went into samadhi for so long, it was like many hours before he came out again. So he's just standing in the forest. He said when he came out of samadhi, the tiger was long gone and his candle had burnt right down. He's just standing there in the dark. So it's very common for people to have both entered samadhi and deep insight walking, but usually when something, perhaps the mind is just going into a deeper level, you'll physically stop for a while and enter that samadhi, or have a particular particular insight. But while you're walking, you can, be contemplating, maintaining your mindfulness, just as when you're sitting, just as when you're lying down. And you're probably aware of, Venerable Ananda. He had his enlightenment experience when he was neither sitting nor lying down. He was halfway between the two. His head hadn't reached the pillow. He was just giving up, having practiced all night, trying to attain Nibbana all night long, putting forth effort, but the very desire for Nibbana perhaps was just a slight mental defilement that was holding his mind back from letting go of everything. So at dawn, when he hadn't yet reached Nibbana, and there was this sense of, oh, I didn't manage it, I just give up. And the very giving up, as he was about to lie down and have a rest, brought his mind to converge, come together and let go of, the most subtlest avijja and mana, a sense of conceit. Sometimes it's like that, you're standing and you sit down because you're tired and you're just giving up, and then your mind converges into samadhi or has some deep insight. I've experienced that before. Very occasionally, as I said, it's the lying down posture is a dangerous posture because it's so easy to fall asleep or become unmindful. But very occasionally I've experienced that, where sitting and then just lay down to have a rest, but the mind actually converges into samadhi because of the effort that was required to sit is released, because when you lie down, you don't need so much physical effort, and that releases some energy, and the mind just lets go of the body completely at that moment. So even in the lying down posture, we can have some deep insight as well. So every posture, there's a possibility for insight. Samadhi can arise, insight can arise, and some practitioners will, they have their favorite posture. So for some it's walking, for some it's sitting.
Thank you, Lampong. Are there any more questions from the floor? Any last questions, comments, feedback? Well, Lampong, it seems that there are no more questions from the floor. And perhaps maybe at this point in time, Lampong, can you please remind everybody about the upcoming retreat coming up this Friday, and that next Sunday, there will not be any Zoom session like this, but we would still be on retreat.
That's right. Yep. So we have a Easter retreat, 3 days, starting on Friday, Good Friday, this coming Friday, the 15th, and then Saturday the 16th, Sunday the 17th. You can see the program. There may be a link here. Oh, yes. On our monastery website, Facebook page, there'll also be a link, and you can log in, and starts on Friday morning, goes through till Sunday afternoon. So a program of sitting and walking meditation. So 2 postures there. I guess you'll be at home, so if you really want, you could be lying down watching. Or I say that's a bit of a dangerous posture. I wouldn't recommend unless you're ill or have some particular physical problem. So sitting, walking, teaching, there's some chanting as well, just to use our time. Most people have a holiday over the weekend, so it's one way you can use your holiday time to practice the Dhamma. So you're welcome to join in that.
Thank you, Lampong. So just also as a reminder, this retreat is open to everybody. There's no registration required. So just use the Zoom meeting ID, and then you can access the retreat live.